Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Influential You podcast. I'm Josh D'Amigo, program faculty member for Influential You and your host for this weekly podcast. At Influential You, we teach you how to take charge of your career and amplify your professional influence. Since 2009, we have helped thousands of business owners, executives, and entrepreneurs become more influential, more rewarded, and more you. Today, we welcome a special guest, Dr. Bo Hendgen, to the Influential You podcast. Dr. Bo is the CEO and founder of Absolute Essential Ltd. Absolute Essential is a company built on sustainability principles to promote health and well-being for our global future. Based in Auckland, New Zealand, Dr. Bo holds her doctorate in osteopathy. I'll say it again, osteopathy. I'll probably say it wrong and have her do it for me. And naturopathy with qualifications in aromatic medicine. And I'm looking forward to having her share her heartfelt story today. Thank you for joining me and welcoming Dr. Bo Hendgen to the Influential You podcast. And Dr. Bo, can you just start by telling me about your doctorate? Because clearly I am butchering those words.
Osteopathy and Naturopathy, naturopathic physician, osteopathy, and aromatic medicine.
And now you have to slow it down so that I can get it right. Say it one more time.
Osteopathy.
Osteopathy.
Naturopathic physician, and aromatic medicine.
Now tell me a little bit about what that qualifies you to do. Tell me a little bit about your offer in the marketplace when it comes to that title.
Well, in the marketplace, we design, market, and manufacture certified organic natural healthcare products. And they're utilizing medicinal essential oils, which are quite different to your flavor and fragrance essential oils, as active ingredients. And so essentially, we've chosen that a raw ingredient because I trained in it in France years and years ago. And I'm really still, this is 40 something years later, I'm still fascinated with what it does and how effective it is. So we help people with sleep and stress problems, respiratory problems, skin problems, and the products are highly effective and have huge efficacy due to our commitment to sustainability and certified organic. We're certified vegan as a company. So we're really, really feeling that health and creating good quality natural healthcare products is our passion, you know.
I love that. And let's put the website up so that we can show everybody how they can get more of your essential oils and all the different things that you offer. Can you tell us just a little bit more just about the company for the listeners that may be interested in what you do?
Yeah, so Absolute Essential was created 34 years ago. We are in our 35th year. And essentially, we have all the raw materials which we source from 32 different countries around the world, directly from the producers. So we work with the producers in sustainability projects, help them to certify organic and create businesses for them, really, where they're making a good living. And so, and then we take those raw materials into New Zealand and we make products which are specifically designed. And of course, that's where specialist knowledge and my expertise really come in, because it's taken me years and years and years to learn. And this is where my professional career in medicine and natural healthcare medicine was. I'm really committed to it. And I felt the more education I have, the more I can actually help people with creating the right products for them.
That's so fat. Thank you so much. I really love actually getting to know you over the last few days and looking at some of your answers. And we'll start with this. You have a fascinating backstory. Would you be willing to tell us briefly the story of Jabari and how it influenced the mission behind your business?
Sure. So I was lucky enough to, 40 years ago, or actually 38 years ago, to work with a doctor in France and studying aromatic medicine. So I was born in Germany and grew up in France. I have two French grandmothers who dragged me through the forest picking herbs and, those sort of things. So my consideration of what I would do with my life was always in natural health, and it was never a question what I would do. So which consider where you should go and what you should study. So I was working with a doctor, and we were using essential oils as natural material. And so after I finished there, I was traveling through Africa, and I happened to, I decided to visit some of the suppliers, and I could see what incredible benefit this product created in enhancing the well-being in our Western world. And then I visited the supplier, and Jabari, which was the lady, she took my hand and led me to her tent, and it was poverty and, everything you can imagine. This is many years ago now. It was in the Sahara. And, just because of my color of my skin, she just expected me to have solutions for her. And I listened and sat down with her and heard the stories about her not being able to support her family, how the extraction of this raw material was really depleting and nutrition, and wasn't really adding any well-being to their story. And that really disturbed me. So that moment really changed my life, because I just felt there must be a better way of creating well-being and a sustainable supply chain which benefits the people who supply us. And let's face it, that's why we can live so well, while we extract product and treat these products really well with creating quality products, which then enhances our well-being. So a circular economy idea, 38 years ago now,
Yeah, I think it's just such a touching story, and the way that you tell it, it means a lot, especially right now. I think I'm a soccer fan or a footballer, and I seeing the World Cup and seeing a lot of the poverty that's gone on and how it was created and some of the ethics that are there. I just want to say thank you, because it's not every day that you find someone that cares this much about a life mission and also puts it into their work. So thank you for your example. And speaking of that, you also had a life-altering experience that you said led you to find Influential You. Will you tell us about that?
Yeah. So, look, starting a business, I didn't have any means, I didn't have any experience, and I didn't have any qualifications. So I think anybody who wants to start a business, they should enroll for a 3-month program in running or walking a marathon or half a marathon, because you need to have an incredible amount of resilience, and you need to discipline yourself and practice with what you want to achieve. And it's not a straight line, right? You're going to be knocked about and disillusioned, and you get a little bite thrown to you where it gives you more energy to continue. And it might be feedback from a customer, it might be feedback from a supplier. So there's little bits and pieces. So you need to have a very strong why to start a business. So the business was going, and it was, I guess, I worked really hard at it, and it was on the cost of family and friends. And I think any business owner which is in your program would be able to relate to that. The late nights, the weekends, the weekend works, the stresses which comes with it, the pillow talks. So I had an accident 10 years ago now, and I was rolled over by a truck, and it was a 12-ton truck with a horse in it. So significant. And there was a moment in that where I actually looked at, the decision to survive was clear. And there was also a reason why that was necessary. And for me, I really made a commitment that surviving that will be with going back to full health, and also will make a greater difference in people's lives. So after I recovered through applying all my knowledge to my own body in self-healing and succeeded to recover with full health. I mean, you've seen me, you wouldn't be able to see a thing. So I knew, I knew I needed to make changes, not to fall back into the same pattern with the business, because during my recovery, I had a very light touch on the business, and the business actually thrived. People stood up, people really, took the opportunity to show me that they can do it, and also that they can, they can perform, and they actually want to, because it's a worthwhile business to continue to work with. Especially my daughter was implemental in this whole process. So at this stage, I met somebody, the accidents at a cardiovascular conference I was, and somebody from Influential You said, "Oh, we're having an evening tonight, and why don't you come along?" And that was Griff from Perth, So here I go along, and I thought about it, and I thought, yep, that could be, the thing which could help me structure and make sure I don't fall back into the previous bad habits. So that was the reason why I joined with Influence Ecology, which is probably now 8-9 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. It's probably been 8-9 years, but you've gone through the entire, I guess, 4-year curriculum, in the sense of you did the fundamentals of transaction, you completed mechanics in practice, you've gone in mechanics in practice 2, you're in the Legends program with me. And I want to know a little bit about, tell me, why was it a solution? Why did you see that as possibly something that could help you in your mission and your business?
Initially, I think, when I think back, it was probably, I could see that it could give me structure. It was a system. It was utilizing a lot of resources which I had been in touch before, like the emails, like Influence. I had read the book Influence. So it was sort of, the FOT was something which pulled all those things together for me. And it gave me a commitment and a structure where I needed to go and turn up, every 2 weeks with something. It also opened, I think this is probably what I still most enjoy. It opened connection with so many professional people around the world, which I actually wouldn't have connections to otherwise, because, typically we stick into our own little industries, aren't you? Like, I'm in natural health. You've come from radio, so you hang around in these circles, and I'm a big thinker. I can see the future, and I needed just more stimulation from a different crowd of people, good or bad, to just help me nurture that big thinking.
And you identify as inventor personality?
Yep, I think so. Everybody tells me.
Well, I'll say this, because I see you as incredibly intelligent, and I'm actually even blown away when we talked a little bit before the show about your connection, and you're a fellow with the Sir Edmund Hillary Fellowship. Tell me a little bit about the deep thinking. I would love to hear about your mind. Like, when you stop and look at the things that you do and the way that you see the world, I'd love to tap into that inventor mind and how it looks for you.
Well, I actually, in my mind, it's very simple. Nothing is impossible. So I just, when somebody has a breakdown, I just don't think about so much about the, "Oh, you poor thing" talk. I think about, oh, this is what we could do to find a solution, which is most annoying to people who just want to have a bit of a gossip and a natter, So I just instantly jump to the solutions in my brain, and the solutions are never limited. And I don't know if you're born with that sort of stuff or if you learn it on, I'm not sure, but where that comes from. That's a thing in the personality exploration with Influence Ecology, which you do very well, to just have the different personalities. It's, why are you who you are?
Hmm.
You know, how come? I mean, I've got grandchildren, and we've got 5 grandchildren, and 2 of them I can definitely see their personalities, and it's no question they're brought up the same way, and just they perform completely differently, you know. And they need to, and you know, what helped me with the program was actually identifying personalities, and this is one thing which really helped me with saying, okay, this is a performer, and if I can adjust my way I'm going to approach this person or interact with this person, it'll be a more successful relationship. And that's a great learning, and it helps you sort of speed things up in life, you know.
I think that's a really good way to put it. And I think it's a way that an inventor would kind of say it, like, well, it just made sense. It was a solution. It was at a world of possibilities. It makes sense to study people. It makes sense to know how they tick, and whether or not it's nature or nurture, really stopping to consider that critter over there and how they view the world and how they move, and then taking a moment to speak that language is really, really valuable. And I think a performer like myself would say something like, oh, you just get to people and it's so fun. But inventors are like, no, it helps with the solution. Is that close to what you think you're saying, or what you're saying?
Yeah, it helps with the solution. And you know, it's like, you know, another thing which I really learned in the program and really started to appreciate, that you can get great things done in teams. You can't do it all yourself. And I think if you're going back, you know, the 10 years where I worked very hard, but a lot of it was done by myself, you know. So the programs certainly have helped me to especially in the study groups and the more intimate relationships one has with, intellectually intimate relationship one has with each other, that that it just helps you to look at it differently, and then take that information and just get things done in a much more efficient way, while you're staying with your ethics. So there's no change to my ethics, you know, and how I like things, which, as you can tell, is pretty strong. You know, I've got strong ideas on what I want, and I'm not shy to express those ideas. But I can still hear the feedback and get things done faster, better. And hey, if we do things better, we can have a greater change in the world, which is really what is required of us at the moment.
That's right. And going back to your mission, I mean, it helps, right? It's deeper than just a job. It's more than just a thing, an occupation that you show up to day in and day out. It's a mission for you. And so it's that important to get it right. And if you have this limited window of time in a lifetime to do that, playing the games of humaning or knowing exactly how to speak to this person in a way that moves the process faster just makes sense in your world. And I love that line that you just said, intellectually intimate relationships. It's probably something I'm going to steal and constantly say, well, it's what Dr. Bo told me on the podcast. So now tell me more about what you learned while you started studying with us, because you studied with us, you just said 8 or 9 years.
Yep.
Why in the world would anyone spend 8 or 9 years studying with us?
Well, you know, I've studied 12 years before that, so I like studying as a stimulation to my brain. I think what certainly initially curiosity, seeing the potential of learning new habits and establishing better systems for myself and for the business. I was fascinated about personalities and cultures in one stage. So I think early in MAP, I did a few projects, because we are importing raw materials from, you know, 32 countries, and they all have different religion and different cultures. So that transition from applying these personalities to Western cultures, American cultures, is very different if you're integrating them into a Hindi culture or Chinese cultures or so on, you know. So that was I was very curious about this aspect. And then I think I like the depth the MAP2 program allowed me to go into, rather than FOT is sort of an introduction, really, which sets up a structure, but I really got the biggest benefit in MAP2.
Yeah, exact same. And it was really funny, probably differently. I came about it and complained about how much I had to study in fundamentals of transaction. In mechanics and practice, I apologized for how much I complained about the fundamentals of transaction study. And then in mechanics and practice too, I complained about how much I studied. I complained about the map so I completely understand that. And I'm very curious as to what you found about different cultures, because in my world, I am constantly finding the ignorance and the things that I have to pull out from my Western brain, my America first brain a lot of times. And I'm learning how different things are in other places that we just don't think about in our culture. And one of those things was what I mentioned before. I just heard about poppy syndrome last night, had no clue what that was, but would you be willing to tell me just maybe a sentence or two about poppy syndrome for those that might not know, and then a few more about just what you're finding with people in different cultures using what you've studied at Influential You about how people tick?
So firstly, Josh, I think cultures, you need to experience in the culture. You can't learn it. Like you can learn a language via a podcast or online or Duolingo or something, but a culture, you really need to be there. And I mean, I've visited 103 countries, so I've been exposed to many different languages, many different cultures. And because my work is with people, so it's not, you don't go there as a tourist, so you go there and work with people. It's a complete different level, and you need to generate transactions. So you do need to you are in a transactional relationship, which is, of course, all the stuff which we teach in, I say we, sorry, you teach in Influence Ecology. And so this is for us. How do you apply this? It's very sensitive in different cultures with, especially if they're strongly religious based. And I'm a woman as well in business. So some of these cultures, they prefer actually dealing with men. So there is a huge adjustment which you need to make in yourself, respectful of that, but also saying, no, you're going to have to work with me, So what I have found, that the personalities are, I would say they are cross-cultural. Like, you can see a person up in the mountain in Nepal who is a producer, and you can see a person who is a performer, and it just takes a little bit more skill and peeling back to identify this sometimes, because stronger cultures can have hold people very strongly in certain expectations. So happens in America. It's not just traditional cultures, but the traditions, they go so deep that you don't do certain things. So that's where you have to do a little bit of peeling back before you can really identify who you're talking with.
Yeah, and I love what you said, even respectfully declining in different cultures and understanding. During COVID, I was in lockdown for a little while and studied Spanish, one of the Duolingo apps, and I did it every morning for 15 to 30 minutes. And I tell you, I'm really good at figuring out how to take those quizzes on the game, not very good at speaking Spanish. But I do like, we have a comment here. Christine Loeth said, yes, we live in a growth-centric world. Also understanding the archetypes. And I'm guessing that she's agreeing with you in the sense of like understanding how those work is very helpful. And then having that growth-centric world is just, it's one of those things where the more that you start to learn, the more that you go out and be around people and experience, the more people that you can probably help. Is there anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, it's sort of like, if you're looking at being in business for 34 years means that you've done something. People buy your product, right? So you've done something right. And I think the biggest thing which I probably pride myself in is the relationships I held for that many years with people. We've got suppliers which we still work with from 32 years ago. And the relationship hasn't really changed. And in a crisis, or the relationship, even in COVID, where we couldn't visit and we couldn't see each other. I mean, if I wanted help, if I put my hand up and say, hey, I need da-da-da, they were all on board. It was incredible. We were, you know, in the early 2020 scenario, we needed to make hand sanitizer, as you can imagine, and we ran out of bottles because, you know, there was such a huge demand, and we were able to do it in the first week, actually, which was incredible. And I put out a quest to, I think it was 12 bottle suppliers, and to see if they could help me. And I mean, this was stressful times for everybody. I mean, the inboxes were full, you know, they had to deal with stuff, and all 12 of them responded, which, I mean, that just blew my mind, you know. And even if they responded saying, "Oh, sorry, I can't help you, we have the same problem," they still took the time to respond. And that showed a little bit of respect for being in business for that long, you know. So the relationships, they carry you across the waters if the water gets deep, you know.
Oh, so good. And I love that. I mean, the responses, right? They reacted. There's so many times where people will just ignore, as we teach in the programs. You must, you know, almost sometimes shock the monkey. What is it? Shock the lizard, wake the lizard, feed the monkey. Make sure that they realize, hey, I've got a request for you, and cut through the noise that that internal noise that we often have, because we're indifferent to each other's needs. And when you have that testament of being able to cut through it, and they see your reputation and the things that you've done, paying attention to you is in some cases life or death, soap or no soap. And before we keep going, I just want to stop for a moment and plug you one more time. If you're just joining us, we're here with Dr. Bo Hendgen. Her company that she's the CEO and founder of is Absolute Essential, and you can see the website right there. If you are interested, please go and find her products. Ethical, wonderful woman that I know that if you keep listening, you're going to just hear some more things that you're going to love, because I've already gotten 6 or 7 things on here. Dr. Bo, it's wonderful. So, you know, you've studied with us for a while. What's life like now? Tell me the difference between working before Influential You and now working, now that you have the knowledge that you have and the education that you studied here with Influential You.
I think, I mean, look, anything you study, the key is to apply it, because if you know, we all go to conferences and come back with 100 notes, note pages, and, you know, I think that was a wonderful time and we don't apply it. So I think the rigor of the study groups, the friends you make with that, the intellectually intimate relationship you create through that, the people you can pick up the phone to, and they'll just support you. It's great, which I learned to maintain and to nourish. But because, you know, if they're of help to you, you need to be of help to them, because it's a reciprocal relationship. And so I think I got much better at that, at looking after people. And in COVID, I had when we were in lockdown, I had the one thing I did every day was just pick up the phone to somebody, just somebody, you know, to talk to them. And I think my life has changed in a way that I have a common language which I can share. I have systems in place which I have tested and they work. I hated contracts. I really tried to avoid them, like a performer. Eh? And so, you know, I was quite good at that, inventing the top half of the, you know, of the transaction cycle, the inventing, and even going a little bit into the performing. I could deal with that, you know, but when it comes to contract, it was uncomfortable. And I think the study of contract and metrics and really measuring what actually worked has helped grow the business, but also saved me from many mistakes. And because if you've got a contract, you know, you got something to, you don't need to necessarily ram it down people's throats, because that doesn't work either. But at least you have something you can sort of lean on, and you have a structure you can negotiate around.
Yeah, I love that, because knowing where you are is so helpful in any process, but knowing where you are with a person, ooh, you really start to move very, very accurately. And I love that. Now, we're towards the end of the episode, it just flew by, and I'm just going to blame you for it because it's so fun listening to you. We give everyone an opportunity to have a soapbox moment, and I would love to hear maybe one or two things from you. What are the things that you would stand up on a soapbox and scream on a corner that are so important for people to know?
I think, it's difficult to have just one thing, but I think everything goes back to your health. So the earlier, like if we've got health, we've got a potential to have everything. If we have no health, then no money or nothing which we gathered will really be of use to us. So you need to take care of your health. And if I could speak to a lot of young people, take care of your health early. It's not something you start when you start getting conditions. It's something you start way before. And I think in this time and age, as a business, I think, and I've clearly have demonstrated that over the years, but even more so now, we as business owners, founders, or within businesses need to lead the public to consume better rather than more. And the consuming better, I mean that just in my industry, and this applies to all industries, but just in my industry, I feel that if we get a ton of raw material, and let's say a ton of lemongrass, and we are having the potential to create a medicinal, high quality essential oils which benefits our health in many conditions, this is much better than having a ton of lemongrass, extracting it with extreme heat and very fast to just get some things out of it, and then throw it into the flavor and fragrance industry. It's the same process, but no value created at the end. And I think we need to look at buying high value products which actually impact our lives, but also impact the lives of the people who make those products, who create those products for us, who grow them, the people who are on the field, who pick the weeds, who plow the fields with their buffaloes. It's just a circular economy model which really helps all of us to continue to live on this planet. Really, I think that's how serious it is at the moment. So change, and what change? It's like any change, recycling, collecting your plastics, going to the coffee shop with your own cup. I mean, little things. We can all do little things. This is not exclusive to somebody, but do support companies with ethics behind their products, and which have really proven sustainable supply chains for, who all of our consumption. And at Christmas time, just think about what you buy and how it comes and how it's wrapped.
I tell you, your heart just shows through all of the wires and even days, because I think you're a day ahead of me. But thank you so much for being on our podcast today, Dr. Bo. And I have to tell you, I see a lot of Ventura in the heart of my city as a city that's very forward thinking when it comes to our footprint, at being very sustainable, environmentally friendly. And I can see why there's such a connection between New Zealand, Australia, and Ventura, and it's starting to like really sink in some days. And speaking with you today, it really, really shone through. So thank you so much. You'll come back and be a guest in the future?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. There's a couple things that I want to mention about that interview that I just had with Dr. Bo and Tihi. I'm going to go ahead and close out now. What you find really in what she said, there's two things that I took away. I love that she said, if you're going to run a business, sign up for a marathon, because that resilience and that willpower is so important. And one of the other things that we talk about is the structure. She talked about the structure of making sure that you had a structure or had a process. We talk a lot about willpower is not enough. You need an environment, but your environment is so much stronger when you have it paired with the willpower. And one of the best things that John Patterson has ever said to me is that your environment is stronger than your willpower. And I took it for a long time to mean, oh, just ignore the willpower, just grow the environment. That's not so. what I heard Dr. Bo say is having that resilience, having that willpower, having that mission and seeing it through is so valuable to how we move and how we do things with our business. If that's something that you're interested, you're going to love what I'm about to say, because if you'd like to know more about us here at Influential You, please go to influentialu.global and you can explore our courses, consulting, and conferences. We offer a 4-year curriculum for those seeking an advanced experience. However, if you're new to Influential You, we recommend that you start with Thrive. It's our self-guided training. Thrive is a self-guided training program that lets you learn at your own pace. Thrive members enjoy weekly live e-coaching sessions and an ever-expanding library of exclusive video lessons with our faculty, thought leaders, and industry experts. You'll get proven proprietary tools to accurately assess your career and develop a realistic strategy to achieve your aims faster. Your membership also includes chat access to faculty, plus discounts to our transformative conferences, where you can meet people like Dr. Bo. That's where I met her. Sign up today and use promo code 20OFF. That's 20OFF for a 20% discount on the monthly subscription. That's coupon code 20OFF. Next week, I'm really excited because we interview Laurel McClay. She's the executive facilitator and coach specializing in helping teams in tech, engineering, and science. And she helps them work better together, work smarter together. And I honestly could not think of a better way to wrap up our 2022 Influential You podcast season than to have her on. Thank you so much for joining us today. Each week we stream live at 2 p.m. Pacific on our website, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can easily share this with others anytime you'd like. You can also subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or any other place that you get your podcasts. Check out our show notes for links to connect with our guests, plus links to websites, books, or special downloads that we talked about in today's episode. This podcast is made possible by the Influential You staff, faculty, and our members all around the world, with a special thanks to our executive producer, Tyson Crandall, and contributions from Michael Teehee behind the booth. Thank you, Michael. Joey Anderley, Daryl Anderley, Paul West, Liz Smiley, John Patterson, and a special thanks to our guest today, Dr. Bo Hendgen. The Influential You podcast is produced by Influence Ecology, LLC in Ventura, California. This episode was recorded on December 14th, 2022, December 15th, if you're on the other side of the world. This podcast theme is by Chris Standring, entitled Fast Trained Everywhere. And if you haven't yet offered a rating or review, I ask that you take a moment, go to iTunes or your podcast app, and let us know what you think. This helps us more than you know, and we'll see you next week on the Influential You podcast.